There's a town in New Hampshire where the wind chill hit negative 108 degrees, and the observatory windows are bulletproof because the ice flies sideways at 200 miles an hour, not a research station in Antarctica. A place with a gift shop. America's supposed to have nice weather somewhere, right? But what the travel guides won't show you is the other America, where the pavement gives you second-degree burns and a town got flattened by a tornado and rebuilt just in time for the next one. Number one will leave you speechless. Let's get into it. Population about 3,400, Olympic Peninsula, a tiny logging town surrounded by old-growth rainforest that became famous as the setting for the Twilight Saga. But here's the thing, Stephanie Meyer picked Forks because she Googled the rainiest town in the contiguous United States. And this was what came up, over 120 inches of rain per year. That's 10 feet of water falling from the sky annually, 206 rainy days a year, 131 sunny days total compared to the national average of 205. Forks gets more rain in January alone than Phoenix gets in an entire year. Locals don't carry umbrellas. That's the first thing they'll tell you. Umbrellas are a tourist tell because the rain here doesn't fall straight down. It comes sideways. It mists. It hangs in the air like fog. You don't dodge it. You just accept that being dry isn't part of the deal anymore. The West End Neighbor newspaper published a column noting that newcomers tend to last about 2 years before the dark, wet winters break them. Everything molds. Cars rust. Laundry never fully dries on its own. What nobody tells you is the darkness. From November through February, the cloud cover is so thick and constant that some days feel like twilight from sunrise to sunset. No dramatic storms, no thunder, just an endless gray ceiling that never lifts. The town's tourism bureau still leans hard into the twilight branding. Vampires chose a town where the sun literally never shines, and the locals thought that was accurate enough to put on a welcome sign. Record year, 162 inches of rain in 1997, 13.5 feet. That's not a weather pattern, that's an aquarium. Population about 600, Iron Range Country, the coldest regularly inhabited place in the contiguous United States, named after the French word embarrass, which means to hinder with obstacles. On February 2nd, 1996, an unofficial reading in embarrass hit negative 64 degrees Fahrenheit. 3 miles away, the town of Tower recorded the official Minnesota state record of negative 60 degrees that same morning. For context, mercury freezes at negative 38. Residents use alcohol thermometers rated to negative 80 because a standard mercury thermometer would just be a frozen stick. The geography does this on purpose. Embarrass sits in a bowl-shaped basin in the Iron Range where cold, dense air drains off the surrounding hills and pools at the bottom like invisible water. There's no wind to circulate it, no large body of water to moderate it. Just a natural cold sink that traps Arctic air and refuses to let go. The freeze-free season runs about 72 days, shorter than in Fairbanks, Alaska. After that 1996 event, temperatures rebounded over 100 degrees in 6 days, going from negative 64 to the mid-40s. What nobody tells you is the pride. Embarrass doesn't apologize for being this cold. They celebrate it. The town has hosted a Finnish Heritage Festival for decades, paying tribute to the immigrants who looked at this frozen basin and thought, yeah, this reminds me of home. CBS News ran a feature asking why it gets so cold and embarrassed, and the answer is essentially that the landscape itself is designed to be a freezer. The town is surrounded by swamps and bogs that release moisture in the fall. Then the basin traps it, so not only is it colder than anywhere else in the lower 48, the air is damp cold, the kind that doesn't just chill you, it enters your bones and sets up camp. Population about 272,000, South Plains, West Texas, home to Texas Tech University and the first tornado ever rated F5 by Dr. Ted Fujita himself. On May 11, 1970, an F5 tore through Lubbock, killing 26 people, injuring over 1,500, and causing $2 billion in damage adjusted for inflation. The tornado literally inspired the creation of the Fujita scale. Lubbock didn't just experience an F5, it defined what an F5 was, but the tornado aren't even the main event. The haboobs are. A haboob is a wall of dust 8,000 feet tall, traveling at 75 miles an hour that turns the sky brown and drops visibility to 0 in seconds. Lubbock gets them regularly. The iconic one hit on October 17, 2011 and went viral. February 2023 brought 14 straight hours of dust with 77 miles per hour gusts in an orange sky that looked like the surface of Mars. In March 2025, a historic wind and dust event prevent flipped semis on Interstate 27. Air quality readings in Lubbock regularly hit 2.4 times the WHO recommended levels. A local radio station headline, "Another Lubbock dust storm means breathing is optional. What nobody tells you is the wind never stops." Lubbock averages 12 to 13 mile per hour sustained winds year-round, and it's worse in spring. January lows drop to the teens with wind chill in the single digits. Summer highs crack 100 degrees with zero shade because there are no trees. Black Sunday, April 14th, 1935, the storm that gave the Dust Bowl its name, was first reported in the Lubbock Evening Journal. 90 years later, the dust is still here. The trees are still not. Population about 146,000. Central New York, the snowiest major city in the United States, with an annual average of 123.8 inches, which is over 10 feet. Syracuse sits in the direct line of Lake Ontario's lake effect snow machine. Moisture picks up off the lake, collides with cold air from Canada, and dumps everything on Syracuse like the sky has a personal grudge. Record season, 192.1 inches in 1992-93, 16 feet of snow in one winter. The city competes annually for the Golden Snowball Award against Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and Binghamton. Syracuse has won so many times that other cities have essentially stopped trying. Schools rarely close because if they did, kids would miss half the year. Plows run 24 hours a day from November through April. Homeowners budget for roof raking to prevent collapse. The city spends over $30 million a year just to keep the roads drivable. What nobody tells you is the gray. Syracuse isn't just snowy, it's one of the cloudiest cities in America. The overcast skies start in November and don't really break until April. A niche review captured it perfectly. There's this indescribable vibe of feeling stuck and depressed in Syracuse, and don't worry, that's normal. It doesn't go away. The snow becomes less of a weather event and more of a psychological state. It's not a storm, it's a lifestyle. Population about 5,800. Canadian border. Federally trademarked as the icebox of the nation since 2008 after a legal dispute with Fraser, Colorado that lasted years. The January average low is -4 degrees Fahrenheit. All-time record, -55 in 1909. The town averages 57 nights per year below zero. During the winter of 1978 to 1979, the temperature stayed below freezing for 101 consecutive days. In December 2013, International Falls endured 8 straight days below -30. Schools finally canceled in January 2014 when the thermometer hit -42. What makes International Falls special isn't just that it's cold, it's that it holds the lowest average annual temperature of any town in the lower 48. This is the baseline. The default setting is frigid. Other cold towns have cold snaps. International Falls has cold snaps inside a permanently cold existence. Cars require engine block heaters plugged in overnight. Every parking lot has electrical outlets at every space. Visitors think they are for electric vehicles. They are not. They are a survival infrastructure. What nobody tells you is the culture. International Falls doesn't hide from the cold. It hosts Icebox Days every January, featuring frozen turkey bowling, snow sculpting, and a contest to see who can start a frozen car the fastest. A local pastor told a reporter, "We might be a little strange, but we actually like it. We kind of laugh at the rest of the country." The Canadians across the Rainy River look at International Falls and think that's a bit much. When Canada thinks you're too cold, you've achieved something. Population 3,846. Prince William Sound, the snowiest inhabited town in America with an average of roughly 300 inches per year, which is 25 feet. Nearby Thompson Pass averages 500 inches and has recorded seasons above 900. The disputed but revalidated record for the snowiest single day in American history belongs to this area. 78 inches on February 7th, 1963. 6.5 feet of snow in one day. That's not a snowstorm. That's a building collapse event. Valdez has 0 ski resorts, and that is not a contradiction. There are no ski resorts because you physically cannot build a chairlift tall enough to stay above the snow line. Instead, Valdez is the heli skiing capital of North America. You fly above the snow because you can't build through it. In the 2011 to 2012 winter, schools were closed because the buildings exceeded their engineered snow load capacity. The roofs were literally a risk of pancaking. What nobody tells you is the avalanche risk. Valdez sits at the base of the Chugach Mountains in a coastal valley that funnels funnels moisture straight off the Gulf of Alaska. That moisture turns into snow. The snow piles onto steep slopes. The slopes release. Thompson Pass is one of the most avalanche-prone corridors in North America, and the only road into Valdez, the Richardson Highway, runs right through it. Road closures for avalanche control are routine. Some years you can't get in or out for days. Population about 27,000, southwest Kansas. Officially the windiest city in the United States per NOAA, with an annual average wind speed of 13.9 miles per hour, which doesn't sound extreme until you realize that's the average, sustained, year-round, including calm summer nights. April gusts have hit 79 miles per hour. The wind here doesn't gust and die. It arrives in October and doesn't meaningfully slow down until June. Trees grow at permanent angles. Anything not bolted down is in the next county by morning. Dodge City also sits in the absolute center of Tornado Alley. On May 24, 2016, a single supercell produced approximately 12 tornadoes in one day in the Dodge City warning area. The nearby Greensburg F5 in 2007, which destroyed 95% of the town, fell within Dodge City's coverage zone. Kansas averages 96 tornadoes a year, and Dodge City's county, Ford County, has one of the highest per capita tornado exposure rates in the state. What nobody tells you is the dust. Dodge City was ground zero during the Dust Bowl, and the soil hasn't forgotten. Spring winds lift topsoil from surrounding agricultural fields and create visibility-reducing dust events that look like something out of a 1930s documentary. Temperature extremes swing from 110 in summer to -20 in winter, a 130-degree annual range, and through all of it, the wind. Always the wind. There's a reason Dodge City's most famous historical advice was get out of Dodge. The Cowboys figured it out 150 years ago. The wind hasn't changed since. We just covered a town that gets 10 feet of rain a year, a place where thermometers literally break, and a city so windy the trees grow at permanent angles. And we're only getting started. The next 8 towns include the hottest place on earth, a city where the pavement gives you second-degree burns, and a town that burned down while underwater. Keep watching. Population 58,800, Central Wyoming, the 7th windiest city in America and the unofficial capital of a state where the jet stream parks itself for months at a time. Winter afternoons sustain 30 to 40 miles per hour winds with 50 to 60 miles per hour gusts as a baseline. In March 2023, Cheyenne recorded a 92 mile per hour gust at the airport. Wyoming's statewide record is 128 miles per hour at Clark in 2022. Hangar doors at Casper's Natrona County International Airport are chained shut when gusts exceed 63 miles per hour. Planes have flipped on the tarmac. In December 2025 alone, high winds blew over 39 semi-trucks in a single week along I-80 and I-25. Cooper Cove, near milepost 279, logged 9 blowovers in a 6-mile span. Wyoming has a dedicated state wind closure app because road closures due to wind happen so often that they needed their own technology. The state doesn't just have wind advisories. It has a permanent infrastructure dedicated to telling you when the wind is going to ruin your day. One online commenter from Casper summed it up. We get 40 to 50 miles per hour winds when it's -50, and it never seems to not be a wind, just varies from rip the truck door off to mildly annoying. What nobody tells you is the Chinooks. A Chinook wind is a warm, dry wind that cascades down from the mountains and can swing temperatures 60 degrees in a matter of hours. You wake up at -20, go to lunch at 40, and by dinner it's snowing again. A Cheyenne trolley guide has a standard joke. Cheyenne gets a lot of snow, but due to the wind here, most of it actually lands in Nebraska. Wyoming is the least populated state in America, 577,000 people across 97,000 square miles, 6 people per square mile. The wind gets the rest. Population about 276,000, Western New York. Lake Erie's lake effect snow corridor. Buffalo has 3 iconic blizzards in a single lifetime that would each individually qualify a city for this list. The blizzard of 1977 killed 29 people, produced 18-foot drifts, and became the first winter storm to receive a federal disaster declaration. Snowvember 2014 dumped 88 inches in 5 days at Cowlsville, creating a literal wall of snow visible from space. And the Christmas 2022 blizzard killed 47, even people in Erie County alone. The 2022 storm is the one that defines modern Buffalo. 37 continuous hours of blizzard conditions, 49 inches in 5 days. Wind gusts over 70 miles per hour create whiteout conditions where you could not see your hand in front of your face. 17 pedestrians were found dead in snowbanks, many within blocks of shelter. Emergency services were completely disabled. The city tweeted that no emergency services were available, and a National Weather Service meteorologist called it the scariest tweet he'd ever seen. Governor Hope Ha'ul described it as the most devastating storm in Buffalo's long-storied history. What nobody tells you is that Buffalo residents don't leave. The population has been declining for decades, but not because of the weather. People who stay in Buffalo stay precisely because of the shared trauma. It creates community. After the 2022 storm, neighbors walked miles through drifts to check on elderly residents. Strangers opened their homes. Buffalo doesn't run from the snow, it argues with it. The Lake Effect Band can dump 4 feet on the south side of the city while the north side gets nothing. Two neighborhoods 10 miles apart can live in different seasons on the same day. Population about 80,000 and falling. Southwest Louisiana, a Gulf petroleum town that experienced 4 separate federal disaster declarations in under 12 months and lost more population share than any city in America between 2019 and 2020. Hurricane Laura made landfall on August 27, 2020 as a Category 4 with 150 mile-per-hour winds, tying the strongest hurricane to ever hit Louisiana. Laura tore the National Weather Service radar dome clean off the building. Then 6 weeks later, Hurricane Delta, a Category 2, made landfall 15 miles from Laura's path, undoing every blue tarp and every temporary repair. Then came February 2021's winter storm, which burst pipes across the city. Then May 2021, flooding dumped over 18 inches. 4 disasters in 12 months. Locals called Lake Charles the city with no light because this Gulf petrochemical hub, surrounded by refineries, couldn't keep its own electricity running. The population dropped 7% in a single census year. Thousands of residents simply never came back. 4 years after Laura, blue tarps still dominate much of the landscape. The mayor told reporters the recovery has been almost miraculous, but then acknowledged there are still lots of blue tarps on roofs. What nobody tells you is the insurance collapse. Louisiana now has the second highest home insurance rates in America. Companies have pulled out of the state entirely. Premiums in Lake Charles doubled and tripled after Laura. Some residents report quotes of $15,000 a year for basic coverage. The homes that survived Laura physically are now being destroyed financially. You can rebuild your roof 10 times, but if nobody will insure it at a price you can afford, the house is effectively worthless. Lake Charles didn't just get hit by hurricanes. It got hit by hurricanes and then abandoned by the industry that was supposed to protect it from hurricanes. Population about 63,000 and is still growing. Central Oklahoma, the 3 costliest tornadoes in Oklahoma history all hit the same town. More has been struck by major tornadoes in 1999, 2003, 2010, 2013, and 2015. The May 3rd, 1999 Bridge Creek to Moore F5 produced the highest wind speed ever measured on Earth, 302 miles per hour by Doppler radar. 36 people died. Then 14 years later, on May 20th, 2013, an EF5 with 210 mile-per-hour winds killed 24 people, including 7 children, crushed inside Plaza Towers Elementary School, $2 billion in damage. After the 1999 tornado, Moore built over 6,000 residential safe rooms. After the 2013 tornado, Oklahoma mandated that all new public schools include storm shelters. The Mental Health Association of Oklahoma estimates roughly 20% of storm survivors develop PTSD. More residents describe a particular anxiety that builds every spring, a low hum of dread that starts in April and doesn't lift until June. What nobody tells you is that Moore keeps growing. Despite back-to-back EF5 tornadoes, the population increases by about 0.2% every year. People move in, build houses, and wait. The real estate is affordable. The schools have storm shelters now, and Oklahomans have a particular relationship with tornadoes that outsiders find difficult to understand. It's not denial, it's coexistence. One resident said Moore is a community, and you don't leave your community because the weather is bad. You rebuild and you hope the next one misses. The next one hasn't missed yet, but they keep hoping. Population about 60,000 for the Port Charlotte area. Charles, Otay County, Southwest Florida's retirement coast. Median age 66. A community of retirees who moved to Florida for the sunshine and instead got hit by 6 significant hurricanes in 20 years. Charlie in 2004, Irma in 2017, Ian in 2022, which was a Category 4 that caused $110 billion in damage statewide and whose eye passed directly over Punta Gorda. Hurricane Helene in 2024. Then, Hurricane Milton less than 3 weeks later, which caused 6 times more damage in Charlotte County than Ian did. The hospital ICU roof was torn off during Ian with patients still inside. After Milton, a local resident told WGCU Public Radio it was like we got the bottom of Charlotte Harbor brought up and dumped right on us. Charlotte County's average insurance premium now sits above $3,200 a year. The statewide Florida average has hit nearly $5,400. One Port Charlotte resident reported her premium jumping from $1,100 to $6,500 in a single renewal. Farmers Insurance pulled out of Florida entirely. Citizens Property Insurance, the state's insurer of last resort, has gone from 4% of the market in 2019 to 17%. What nobody tells you is the exit numbers. 36% of Floridians surveyed have moved or considered moving because of weather. Port Charlotte's retirees came for sunny days and calm water. They got Category 4 direct hits every other year. The rebuild cycle has become the defining feature of daily life. Fix the roof, replace the windows, file the claim, get denied. Sue, repeat. Some residents have rebuilt the same house 3 times. The sunshine is still there. It's just expensive to survive it. Population 24, Death Valley, the hottest place on the planet Earth. The official all-time world record temperature of 134 degrees was recorded here on July 10, 1913, though modern climatologists dispute that reading. The verified modern records are cleaner, 130 degrees in both 2020 and 2021, but July 2024 is what broke everything. It became the hottest calendar month ever recorded anywhere on Earth. Average high, 121.9 degrees. Average low, 95.2. Peak, 129.2. 9 days exceeded 125 degrees. On July 6, 2024, a German motorcyclist died of heat exposure while riding through Death Valley. Rescue helicopters were grounded because the air temperature was too hot for the engines to operate safely above 120 degrees. A visitor received third-degree burns walking barefoot on the sand dunes, where ground surface temperatures hit 201 degrees. That's hotter than boiling water. Lodging closes during peak summer because nobody will come. What nobody tells you is why it's so hot. Death Valley sits 282 feet below sea level in a narrow basin surrounded by mountains that trap heat like an oven. Air sinks into the valley, compresses, and superheats. The surrounding rock walls radiate stored heat back into the basin at night, which is why nighttime lows still exceed 95 degrees. It's not just daytime heat, it's 24-hour heat with no escape and no shade. The 24 permanent residents are National Park Service staff. Nobody else lives here voluntarily. The town's name tells you everything. Furnace Creek inside Death Valley, and the thermometer keeps going up. Population 1.66 million, Maricopa County, the 5th largest city in America and the only major U.S. metropolis actively killing its residents with weather. In 2023, Phoenix endured 31 consecutive days at or above 110 degrees, obliterating the previous record of 18. In 2024, it got worse, 113 consecutive days at or above 100 degrees, destroying the prior record of 76. 61 days hit 110 or higher, 39 nights never dropped below 90. The overnight lows now regularly exceed 95 degrees, which is hotter than the human body's core temperature. Pavement in Phoenix reaches 180 degrees in summer. At that temperature, it takes a fraction of a second to receive a second-degree burn. The Arizona Burn Center at Valleywide Health filled all 45 beds in 2023, a third of patients admitted simply because they fell on the sidewalk. Car dashboards hit 192 degrees. Steering wheels average 127. Seatbelt buckles brand flesh on contact. Maricopa County confirmed 645 heat-associated deaths in 2023 and 602 in 2024. Phoenix has the country's only chief heat officer. What nobody tells you is the haboobs. Phoenix doesn't just cook, it also gets swallowed by walls of dust. In August 2025, a massive haboob shredded the Sky Harbor Airport connector bridge and knocked out power to 48,000 homes. The dust storms arrived during the monsoon season and turned the sky brown in minutes. A Reddit tour guide's standard reply to visitors who claim they don't mind the heat. We do, and getting clients killed doesn't look good. The city is growing, and every summer the morgue trucks fill up. Population 0, permanent staff only. The summit of Mount Washington at 6,288 feet has been called home of the world's worst weather since the observatory was established in 1932, and nothing that has happened since has disproven the claim. On April 12, 1934, instruments recorded a 231-mile-per-hour wind gust, which remains the highest wind speed ever recorded in the northern and western hemisphere. Hurricane-force winds occur on the summit an average of every other day during winter. The average wind speed in January is 46 miles per hour. That's the average. On February 3rd, 2023, the observatory recorded a wind chill of -108 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest wind chill ever measured in the United States. That same week, NASA confirmed the temperature was colder than the surface of Mars. The all-time low temperature is -50 degrees. Average annual snowfall is 281 inches, with a record season of 566. The observatory is engineered to withstand 300-mile-per-hour winds. The windows are bulletproof to stop flying ice chunks. Chains bolt the building to the bedrock. Observer Alexis George told CNN that the winds were so strong she fell over at least once that night. What nobody tells you is why. Mount Washington sits at the intersection of 3 major storm tracks. The Venturi effect compresses and accelerates the air. The summit is essentially a natural wind tunnel that happens to have a weather station bolted to it. Director Jay Broccolo told CBS News there definitely are other places on the planet that experience weather like this, but no one's there. That's the punchline. Mount Washington doesn't have the worst weather because it's the most extreme location on Earth. It has the worst weather that anyone has actually bothered to measure, and the data is horrifying. -108 with the wind chill, 231 miles per hour, colder than Mars, faster than a tornado, and there's a gift shop at the top. That's number 1, that's Mount Washington.